friends, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I will be tier ranking all of the romances that I read on Kindle Unlimited in the first half of the year. So first up we have Shameless King. This is a new adult sports romance and it was just okay. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I think it is a tutor romance, but it was an okay read while I was reading it. It's just not something that I am going to remember, but I find that with most new adult sports romances. We have Don't Tell Me No, which is a sapphic novella about a woman who gets sold to her current husband's boss after he embezzles like $1 million or $2 million, and this is definitely A tier. So good, so soft and sweet but spicy, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely like a billionaire Christian Grey-esque, but like actually good. I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a sapphic novella. We have Ensnared. This is a monster romance between a woman who she gets sent to an alien planet, I guess, and she ends up getting saved by a spider. I enjoyed this, but I found that once like their romantic relationship took over, once they were like romantically together, I didn't really care about the world or the plot or them like rescuing people or how like overthrowing the evil queen or whatever. So it was okay, but I think I'm finding that like monster romances just aren't really my thing. So it was a C tier, I think. Tryst 6 Venom, which is a sapphic bully romance. It is between Clay and Olivia, I think her name is, and one is like the rich girl, one is like the outcast, and they're very mean to each other, and I enjoyed their relationship, but I think it was overly long and I didn't much care about like the town aspect. So I would say it's A tier. I really enjoyed their like relationship itself, but it wasn't like my perfect romance, and it definitely was more than memorable. It's something that I will recommend and think about, you know, for months and months to come, but it's not something that like blew me away. We have A Rune of Roses, which is a Beauty and the Beast, and it is about a woman who is trying to find a cure for her family, so she steals some like fruit and berries and stuff from the forest, and then a wolf comes and says, as repayment for you stealing from me, you're gonna have to like come and live at the castle. It was all right. I am also not a retelling person, I'm finding, unless it's like very good, and I just didn't really find this one to be that interesting, and it just like was kind of weird coincidence of things, and the relationship was not very well done. We then have The Never King, which is S tier. I really don't feel like I need to say anything else. This is a dark Peter Pan retelling. Wendy goes to Neverland because she gets taken by Peter Pan, who has lost his shadow, and he needs to find out how to get it back. And it's delightful, short, super fun, toxic, very interesting. We then have Buy Me Sir. Historically, I haven't had the best luck with Jade West, and I didn't really enjoy this one all that much. It's about a woman who has 2 different jobs. She is a sex worker online, and then she's also a maid, and the man that she is a maid for, she's kind of obsessed with, and so she becomes like, she works with him sexually and then is also a maid for him, and it was simultaneously not that memorable and not that good. I had a lot of problems with it. And I say it's not memorable because I can't remember what those problems are now, but I do remember that I was not really enjoying it when it was happening. We then have What He Doesn't Know, which is a duet about a woman who is married to a guy that's kind of douchey, and her childhood like friend comes back, or they had a thing in college, and she cheats on her husband with him. I did not like this. I gave it 2 stars. She kills her bird. I don't need to say anything else about why that's going in D tier. We have Forget Me Not, which is an amnesia romance about a man who gets into a car accident. He doesn't remember breaking up, or he doesn't remember his marriage, him and his wife separating. He doesn't remember that he cheated on her after they lost a baby. He doesn't remember any of that, and so they have to like fall in love again. I also did not like this one. I gave it 2 stars. I didn't find him believable. I thought he was a dick, and his groveling was not good enough. It definitely relied on them rediscovering their love now without the inclusion of all of the trauma and things that they endured previously, and I don't think that they made enough sense as a couple to be believable that they would work once he has his memories back. I didn't like it at all. I didn't find his love for her very believable. We have Throttled, which was okay. It is a Formula 1 romance between a woman and her brother's like rival driver, and she like goes on the road with him. The premise is very flimsy, and their romance is kind of boring. We have Ruthless Creatures, which was okay. It was definitely better than all of these. It's a mafia romance, and it's about a guy who gets told to go and like kill the heroine. The problem that I had with this is they have a very early hookup, and I just don't really like those. I find that the plot never carries the story well enough to compensate for the fact that the romance has 0 tension. They have like the long distance thing going on, but I just didn't really find them all that compelling. But it wasn't a bad book by any means, and I would definitely continue the series. It had some like good moments, but overall it was just all right. We then have Deviant King. It is a bully romance. I would consider it like the original bully romance. It's okay. Like it follows all of the stereotypical bully romance tropes. It's not very memorable, and it's not something that I consider like my favorite bully romance. We have Sicko by Amo Jones. This is a foster sibling, and it was one of the worst books that I've read this year. I think I gave it 2 stars, but I seriously considered giving it 1 star. I only give 1 star to like truly problematic things, and this didn't really fall in that category, but it was just like a smorgasbord of like trauma and unnecessary trauma dumping, and the relationship made no sense. And it was just the plot of the book was unhinged in a not very fun way, and I just didn't really enjoy my time. I find that Amo Jones is just not the author for me, and this really just solidified that for me. Ruthless Crown, which is a high school, I think it's high school, or college bully. The bullying elements are very like they wrap up within 20%, and then it's just kind of the guys like protecting her, like why choose romance, I guess. And it was all right. Like, it's not super memorable, but it was an enjoyable time. I didn't love that the antagonistic elements wrapped up so quickly. That was like one of my complaints, but the actual like touch her and you die was fantastic. We have Southern Storms, which is an emotional romance about a woman who just gets out of a bad marriage, and she comes back to like her hometown. She stays in this cottage, and she meets this guy who is kind of a recluse, very stereotypical Brittany C. Cherry. However, I found this one to be pretty lacking in the charm that I find in Brittany C. Cherry books, and it was emotional at points, but it just felt a little bit lacking. So I would put it in B tier because it's a good romance overall, but I just don't think that it had the spark that most Brittany C. Cherries have. We have Savage, which is a Why Choose motorcycle romance. The girl's father is a leader in the motorcycle. The guys are like members, and they are enlisted to help her and her friend like keep them safe because there is some like rival gang activity going on. And I liked this. It was good. I thought that the bully elements sustained long enough, and the protective elements were good. It was just good. We have Smash and Grab, which is an MM shifter romance, Dino Shifter. The start of the book, one of the heroes saves the other from being from a museum robbery, and they kind of go on this adventure together to discover who's trying to kidnap these dino shifters and steal these artifacts. I really liked it. I thought it was delightful. I liked their relationship. One of the heroes is very sweet, very soft, very intelligent. The other hero is very like punk rock. He wears boots and he wears pink, and their relationship was just delightful. It's the first, I think, like dino monster, certainly the first dino shifter romance I've read, but it was one of the only monster romances that I can recall like thoroughly enjoying. We then have Master of Salt and Bones. This is a romance between a woman who goes to work for this guy who's like a recluse, and he lives in his ancestral home, and there's a lot of like deep dark secrets. I thought it was good for a good portion of it, but it's very, very long for no reason, and it's very traumatic, very heavy with the abuses and things that he's endured, and I'm hesitant to put it in the B category, because it got to a point where it was so long that like I just wanted it to be over, and I just don't feel like it was good enough to be in the B category. We have Promises and Pomegranates, which is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I'm struggling to remember anything about it. I think he tricks her family into giving her away for marriage, and they have like an antagonistic relationship. Don't really know much else besides that. I don't really remember. As you can see, it's very much a C. It's not bad, but it's not very memorable, and it's not something that I would revisit or continue the series. We have The Devil, which is by Ashley Jade. I don't think I've ever read anything else by this author, and this is a very interesting romance. At the time I gave it a 4-star. I said depending on how the duet closes out, it could end up being a 2-star. There is a lot of the use of the F slur, a lot of homophobia in here, and it is a romance between a woman and her stepfather, and we are alternating points of view between his past, and currently when they are like fighting their attraction for each other. And she is talking to someone that she believes to be one of the heroes. I call him a hero. I don't really think he's a hero. And I haven't continued the series, but I know who she ends up with because I felt like I had to know. I needed to know if it was going to be a 2-star, if it was something that I was going to continue, because if you read it, you understand. I would say this is B. It's very, very toxic, and sometimes not in a fun way. Wild, it's definitely wild. It's crazy, it's all over the place. It's just an interesting read that I don't know if I've ever experienced something like that before, so it's very hard for me to explain to you why I feel the way that I feel. Like, I can understand people that gave this 1 star. I can also understand people that gave this 5 stars. So we then have Unhinged, which is an MM psychopath romance, and I am going to put this in B tier. I thought that this was way too low angst in the relationship for me. They got together pretty quickly, and then the remainder of the book is like a revenge story, and I've spoken before about how I feel about early hookups, so it just kind of fell in that category for me. We then have Hunting Adeline, which is a stalker romance about a woman who moves into her grandmother's house after her grandmother is deceased, and this guy is stalking her. I gave this 3 stars when I read it. It's like 600 pages, and honestly, I don't remember that much, and I don't remember it being that good. Like, I remember doing the live show for this book and just absolutely tearing it apart. There's no reason for it to be as long as it is. The romance isn't super great or anything like swoon-worthy. The hero himself was weird. Like, the way he was written was weird, the plot was weird, it just was not that good. And like, I feel like if it had been like 300 pages, maybe the conversation would be a little bit different. But the way that it was and how long it was just atrocious. Not atrocious, it just wasn't good. So then we have Her Soul for Revenge. Is S tier. It is one of the best sequels I've read this year. It is a horror romance about a girl who goes back to this town where she was sacrificed or attempted to be sacrificed by a cult to an old god, and she comes back, I think like 10 years later, and she sells her soul to a demon to get back at the cult. It's absolutely fantastic. I liked it a lot more than the first one because I liked the relationship in this one. I loved both of them separately and together, and it was just S tier for me. We then have Hooked, which I'm swiftly going to put in C tier because, again, like Promises and Pomegranates, I remember nothing about it. I might have even confused the plot of the two. I know one is Hades and Persephone, one is Peter Pan, but I don't remember like the plots of these two. I think in this one he has a club, he sees her in the mirror, in the cameras at his club. He realizes that she's the daughter of his rival and like they have a relationship. I don't remember. It's not good. I don't remember it. Not my thing. All right, and then the last standalone, or the last that's not part of a series that I continued, is The Seventh Circle, which is by the same author that wrote the Madison Kate series, and I didn't enjoy I didn't enjoy this one as much as I enjoyed the Madison Kate series. I think a lot of the charm of the Madison Kate series was lost, but it was by no means bad, and I think if I had read this before I read Madison Kate, I would have enjoyed this. It's basically about a woman who runs the same, one of the gangs in the same town that Madison Kate is in, and she is like a bad bitch, basically. That's like the whole book, and someone from her past is showing back up, and it was good. Like, it was on the same level as all of these, but I don't think that it was something that I'm like itching to continue the series for. And Madison Kate, like, I wanted to continue the series and keep going to know what was happening, and I just didn't really feel that way with this. Sorry, the last standalone or part of the series that I haven't continued yet is Long Shot. This is a very emotional romance about a woman who is involved in a abusive relationship. This depicts on-page abuse, on-page sexual assault. She has a child with her husband, who is her abuser, and she has a romance with his sports rival. I would say 60% of this is spent with her getting through the trauma that she's endured. He has also experienced a possible career-ending injury, and so they're kind of living their lives separately, and at the 60% mark, they've interacted maybe 6 or 7 times, and then beyond that, obviously, the romance actually is like the focal point. I loved this. I think I gave it 4 stars, but it is definitely an A-tier romance. Kennedy Ryan writes, in my opinion, puzzle piece romances. She writes romances that are so emotional, believable. You root for the characters so much, and you really understand why they work. Even if the story isn't mostly focused on the relationship and their interactions, you can understand why the couple keeps coming back to each other every time. So I really enjoyed this. It was just very, very, very heavy, hard to read, but very well done. If you are a fan of It Ends With Us, this does it way, way, way better. I highly recommend you read Long Shot. We then have Second Comes War and Third Comes Vengeance. This is the conclusion books to the Promised in Blood series, which is a mafia. I really, really liked the first book. I gave the first book 5 stars. I think I gave Second Comes War and Third Comes Vengeance. I think I gave Second Comes War 5 stars, and I gave Third Comes Vengeance 4 stars. I kind of blend the series all together. I will say that the last one felt a little bit slow compared to the other ones. These are all like, you know, mafia stories, so they're high action plots. And Third Comes Vengeance, there's like this middle part. I think it's the longest book in the series, and there's just this middle part that drags a lot that I just didn't really enjoy, and it has reading kink, which I don't enjoy. So they are definitely A tier. I recommend this series to anybody that can read these, you know, triggers. I really, really enjoy them. I think they're fantastic. The guys are not nice, but I really think they're really fun, and I love them. So then we will do the Kingmaker series, the 3 that I read. So first we have The Bully, which is S tier in my opinion. You can read this as a standalone. You can't, it's not recommended that you read it as a standalone, but it is basically, the series follows kids that are the kids of the Brutal Birthright series, and they're going to a mafia school to learn how to run their respective mafia families. This is about Dean, who is kind of an outcast. His father was known to be very ruthless, and then we have his heroine, who I will not divulge because that could be a spoiler, but they enter into a dom-sub relationship, very much a bully relationship. He witnesses her doing something, and then he kind of blackmails her into this relationship with him, and the growth of the characters is absolutely nutty. I think this is one of the shortest because it doesn't include as much plot as the rest of them, but if you really love watching relationships bloom or relationships grow, as them individually as people and together in a relationship, you should definitely pick this. I think Dean's transformation as a character is the most well fleshed out and best in the entire series. We then have The Rebel, and I think this might be before The Bully. I can't remember. I don't remember much about this one. It is about Miles, I think, who is a very resourceful guy. He gets contraband for people on the island, and it is his relationship with a girl who is in an arranged marriage, and it was all right. The thing that I found about the Brutal Birthright series and the Kingmaker series is that Sophie Lark isn't the best at balancing plot and relationships or romance, and I definitely found that to be here. The romance was very rushed, the plot was pretty slow, and altogether I don't remember too much about it, so it's definitely B tier. And then The Spy, I enjoyed it a little bit more than The Rebel. I know I'm not giving like super great descriptions of the plots, but obviously they're part of a series. And this one is about a woman who is like from a very strong, brutish family that is another outcast family, and a guy whose identity is a secret. So that's kind of a plot point that I obviously won't divulge, but I enjoyed their romance. They definitely are equal in every way. The heroine is, I think, in my opinion, one of the most believably strong heroines that Sophie Lark has written, and she's a redhead, which we love. So I enjoyed their romance, but I didn't super love the book altogether. I felt it was like a little bit wishy-washy, and I don't know if she knew where she wanted to go with the series as a whole. So then we have this series by Kennedy Ryan, and I don't remember exactly what order the books go in. I know My Soul to Keep is the first one, and I enjoyed this series. I enjoyed it a lot more the first time that I read it, for sure. I would say that they're B tier as well. They are good. The relationship growth, again, is nutty. She does so well with these like years-long relationships that just grow beautifully, but altogether it's not my favorite by her, and I definitely think that this was the start of what we have come to know from Kennedy Ryan. So then we have the Grip trilogy, which is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Flow, which is the novella. This is the introduction to them as a couple. It is, I think, like 10 years prior to the first book. They meet when they're in their early 20s. It is about Grip and Bristol. Bristol is Grip's best friend's sister, and they meet while she is visiting her brother, and they have like this one night together at a carnival. Very much sets up for this puzzle piece romance between the two of them. It ends with her discovering that he's still with his girlfriend, and they end up separating. And then Grip is the first official book, like the first full-length book, and it is some years later. Bristol now runs a recording studio, like artist thingy, with her brother. Grip is a rapper signed with them. Bristol, they've never officially like been together, but Bristol has a lot of undealt with relationship issues, commitment issues, trust issues from her parents, and the previous experience that she had with Grip. And so they have this back and forth. Grip is 100% like, I'm all on board with the relationship, and Bristol has her reservations. So this is them kind of battling their feelings. And it's definitely A tier. No, I would say it's definitely S tier. And I think, like I've said before, Kennedy Ryan is just so good at writing those soulmate level romances. And watching them overcome everything together the way that they do, all of the barriers in their way, is just so beautiful. And then that leaves Still, which is one of my all-time favorite romances. I cried for 80% of this book. This is them together, them married, overcoming some pretty hard stuff, and it's, again, just S tier. One of the best things that I've ever read. One of the best romances I've ever read. It's beautiful. Their relationship is just, I don't have the words. It's unmatched. It's just a step above. Like, if I had an SS tier, it would just be a step above these three, because it's truly, truly amazing. Honestly, I'm debating dropping this down to C tier, because now that I think about it, I don't know if I really remember. I don't know if I really remember all that much about it, and it wasn't, I feel like it's on the same level as these. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on my tier ranking. I would love to see you tier rank the Kindle Unlimited romances that you've read this year. If you don't have anything to say, leave a cup emoji down in the comments, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Thanks so much for watching.